If you told me a story about a Harvard-educated executive who retired in his 40s from one of the biggest investment banks in the world, I would instantly assume that guy had life completely figured out.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
That is the exact prototype of financial success we've all been conditioned to expect, right?
Right. You see the pristine credentials, the high-stress career on Wall Street, the massive multi-million-dollar salary. It feels like this, impenetrable fortress of wealth.
Exactly. It's the picture of security.
But then, on the flip side, if you told me a story about a woman who was orphaned at 12, never married, never even drove a car, and worked her entire life as a humble secretary, well, I'd probably assume she struggled just to make ends meet.
Yeah, because it feels like the logical assumption to make. We instinctively equate humble beginnings and basic jobs with, like, lifelong financial struggle.
Which makes what happened in 2010 so paradigm shifting.
It really does. It's wild.
Because in 2010, that secretary, a woman named Grace Grunner, passed away at the age of 100, and she left behind a charitable donation of $7 million.
7 million. Just incredible.
I mean, people who knew her were entirely baffled. There was no secret inheritance. She just took a meager secretary's salary, invested it, and let it sit for 80 years.
And the universe then offered up this unbelievable contrast just weeks after Grace's death.
Yeah, Richard Fustone, the
Yeah.
Harvard-educated former vice chairman of Merrill Lynch's Latin America division.
The guy who supposedly did, everything right in the world of high finance.
Right. And he ended up standing before a bankruptcy judge, fighting off foreclosure on a 20,000 square foot house. I mean, this house had 2 swimming pools, 2 elevators, and cost him $66,000 a month just for the mortgage.
That mortgage alone is more than most people make in a year.
Yeah. He literally told the judge that his only source of liquidity was whatever his wife could sell of their personal furnishings.
Think about what this exposes regarding the entire architecture of how we understand money. There is absolutely no other field on earth where this story is even possible.
I was trying to wrap my head around that. Let me guess. Did Fuscone just get hit by some unpredictable black swan event, like a terrible tech investment that wiped him out?
You'd think it was a complex math error or a market anomaly, but it wasn't. I mean, imagine Grace Groner, our humble secretary with zero medical training, suddenly stepping into an operating room.
Right, and just performing open heart surgery vastly better than a Harvard-trained cardiologist.
Exactly. Or imagine her sitting down and engineering a faster microchip than the top developers at Apple. It's unthinkable.
Totally impossible.
Because in technical fields, education and experience dictate the outcome. But in investing, a person with no education, no resources, and no inside connections can completely and utterly dominate a top-tier, highly resourced expert.
And that is the exact mission of our deep dive today. We're looking at a stack of research papers and financial essays focused entirely on the psychology of money.
It's such fascinating material.
It really is. And we are speaking directly to you, the listener. Maybe you're a young adult in college, or maybe you're a few years into your career, staring down the barrel of that traditional 9-to-5 treadmill.
And you're desperately trying to figure out how to escape it and build real wealth.
Exactly. The traditional advice tells you to build complex spreadsheets, learn high-level math, and memorize stock patterns. Well, we are throwing all of that out today.
Because investing in wealth building isn't actually a study of finance or math. It is fundamentally a study of human behavior.
So it's not about the numbers.
No, not at all. Richard Fuscone didn't go bankrupt because he forgot how to calculate a yield curve, which is basically just plotting out the interest rates of bonds to predict economic shifts.
Right, he knew all that technical jargon.
He knew it in his sleep. He went bankrupt because of his behavior. Grace didn't build $7 million because she was a financial prodigy. She did it because she mastered the psychology of money.
So if behavior is the real engine to building wealth, it seems like the very first psychological trap young people fall into is completely misunderstanding what financial success actually looks like in the real world.
Oh, absolutely. We have to talk about the rich man in the car paradox from the sources.
Okay, lay it on me.
If you are walking down the street and you see someone pull up to a stoplight in a sleek, roaring $200,000 Ferrari, what goes through your mind?
Honestly, my first thought is probably, Wow, I wish I was driving that car. I would look incredibly cool and successful.
See, that's the trap right there. When you see someone driving that $200,000 car, you rarely look at the driver and think, wow, the person driving that car is so cool, and I deeply admire them.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I don't care about the driver at all.
You bypass the driver completely. You just imagine how much people would admire you if you had that car.
That is so true. The driver is basically invisible to me. They are just a prop in my own fantasy of being admired.
And this is the modern trap of social proof, and it is devastating to young people trying to build wealth. People want wealth to signal to others that they should be liked and admired.
But those other people aren't admiring you.
Exactly. They are using your wealth as a benchmark for their own desire to be liked.
Right.
We see this exploding today with social media.
Oh, for sure.
There is literally a booming business where people will rent a private jet that never even leaves the tarmac.
Wait, really? Like a fake flight?
Yes. They rent it for 10 minutes just to sit inside, pop a bottle of champagne, take an Instagram selfie, and leave.
Just to manufacture the illusion of success? That is insane.
It's wild, but it proves the point.
You know, there's this crazy story in the research about the singer Rihanna from a few years ago. She almost went completely broke.
Oh, I remember this.
Yeah, she was overspending massively, lost a ton of money, and ended up suing her financial advisor, blaming him for the entire mess.
Her advisor's response to that lawsuit was legendary.
Didn't he basically say to the court, was it really necessary to tell her that if you spend money on things, you will end up with the things and not the money?
Yes. It sounds like a joke, but it highlights a profound psychological blind spot.
Especially when you're young, you tend to think wealth is a lifestyle. You think being a millionaire means spending $1 million.
Yeah. You're hitting on the core contradiction that destroys so many financial plans. When you spend money on things, you literally have less money.
It's simple math, but we ignore it.
Totally. If you buy a $200,000 car, the only absolute data point we have about your wealth is that you have $200,000 less than you did before you bought the car.
Or you leased it, which means you're just paying for the illusion and going into debt.
Exactly.
So if the Ferrari isn't wealth and the private jet isn't wealth, we need a new definition here.
Yeah.
What should someone listening actually be aiming for?
Well, rich is loud, rich is visible, rich is the Ferrari, the Instagram jet, the designer clothes. But wealth is what you don't see.
It's invisible.
Yes. Wealth is the car's not purchased, the diamond's not bought, the first-class upgrade you declined. Wealth is financial assets in the bank that haven't been converted into visible stuff.
Because the true utility of money isn't to buy social status. The true utility of money is to buy options.
Yes, options and freedom.
Right. It's to buy control over your own time so you can eventually walk away from the 9-to-5 grind on your own terms.
The visible stuff buys you fleeting attention from strangers who don't care about you. The invisible stuff, true wealth, buys you freedom.
So avoiding the Ferrari preserves the money. But the money isn't just sitting under a mattress, right? That invisible wealth is actually doing the heavy lifting in the background.
Exactly. It's utilizing the secret engine of the entire financial universe, which is compounding.
Compounding. But, you know, if compounding is so powerful, why do so many smart people fail to utilize it?
It's a great question. And it comes down to how we're wired.
Because our human brains are literally biologically broken when it comes to understanding how compounding works. We evolved to think in linear terms.
Right. Our ancestors needed to track a predator running toward us at a steady speed. We never evolved to intuitively understand exponential growth.
Let's do a quick experiment to prove it. To you, the listener, I'm going to give you 2 math problems. I want you to try to solve them intuitively in your head. Ready?
I love this example.
Okay, first problem. What is 8 plus 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 8?
Most people can grab that pretty quickly. 9 eighths, it's 72.
Right, it takes a few seconds. Linear growth. Now here is the second problem. What is 8 times 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 8?
And that's where the brain just short circuits. It feels like it should be, I don't know, maybe a few thousand.
Try over 134 million.
It's staggering.
134,217,728 to be exact. Your brain cannot intuitively process exponential growth.
And because we can't intuitively feel it, we tend to ignore it, which leads us to make terrible financial decisions trying to force quick returns.
Right, we get impatient because year 1 and year 2 of investing look pathetic.
Think about the implications of that for human progress.
Yeah.
Let's use the IBM hard drive analogy from the sources, which perfectly illustrates this invisible explosion of compounding.
Oh, the storage space one.
Yeah. In the 1950s, IBM made a 3.5 megabyte hard drive. By the 1970s, it was up to 70 megabytes. By the early 90s, a standard PC had maybe 200 to 500 megabytes.
Which feels like decent, steady progress. Linear, almost.
Exactly. From 1950 to 1990, so 40 years, we gained roughly 296 megabytes of storage capability. But then compounding hit the steep part of the exponential curve.
Wow.
Holm is right. From 1990 to today, we didn't gain a few hundred megabytes. We gained 60 million megabytes.
That is just, I mean, you can't even picture that.
We went from a few megabytes to 60 terabyte drives. That is how wealth building works. You sit there for years, and it feels like nothing is happening, and then suddenly the math explodes.
Which means the thousands of books written about Warren Buffett dissecting his trade secrets and market analysis, they kind of miss the point.
They completely missed the point.
The most accurate title for a book about Warren Buffett would just be, "This guy has been investing consistently for 3/4 of a century."
I would buy that book.
Yeah.
Because the best strategy isn't chasing the highest possible returns every single year.
Right. The highest returns usually require taking massive risks that eventually wipe you out.
Exactly. The real secret is just earning decent returns and then sticking with them for the longest period of time possible.
I love the idea from the essays that the most powerful finance book ever written wouldn't be a textbook. It would just be a single piece of paper, 1 page long, with the title, "Shut Up and Wait."
Shut up and wait. It's brilliant because it highlights the exact thing people struggle with most.
But I have to push back here.
Okay, go for it.
Because "shut up and wait" sounds incredibly easy on paper, but life is chaotic. Let me use an analogy here. Let's call it the broken sink analogy.
I'm intrigued.
So, if I'm a young homeowner and the pipe under my kitchen sink suddenly bursts and starts flooding my floor, the responsible adult thing to do is sprint to the garage, grab a wrench, and frantically try to fix it. You take action.
Sure, obviously.
So if my financial plan or the stock market suddenly takes a 20% dip, shouldn't my instinct be to immediately jump into action, grab my financial wrench, and try to fix the damage?
What a fantastic analogy because it highlights exactly why smart people go broke.
Really? So the wrench is a bad idea?
In almost every aspect of life, plumbing, health, relationships, when something breaks, the correct response is immediate action. But finance is the one arena where the tendency toward action is usually lethal.
Because by grabbing the wrench, you're interrupting the compounding.
You're completely resetting it. When the market dips, people panic. They sell their investments, they try to rotate into a new strategy, they try to outsmart the system, they fiddle with the knobs.
They just can't sit on their hands.
And in doing so, they reset the compounding clock. They interrupt the single most important mathematical force in their favor.
So how do you starve yourself?
To prevent yourself from grabbing that wrench, you need a psychological and structural tool called a margin of safety.
Room for error. Now, I know some of our younger listeners who are really ambitious might hear room for error and think, that sounds like a conservative hedge for scared people.
Oh, I hear that all the time.
Yeah, they're like, I want to hustle. I want to maximize my leverage and grow fast.
And that is a deadly misconception. Room for error is not about being a coward. It is the exact necessary mathematical tool that allows you to endure hardship.
So you can just stick around long enough.
Precisely. You stick around long enough for those massive, explosive compounding gains to actually hit in years 20, 30, or 40.
Because if you get wiped out in year 5, the game is over.
Let's look at it practically. A margin of safety isn't just about a spreadsheet saying you have enough cash to cover a 30% market drop.
Spreadsheets don't have emotions.
Exactly. The spreadsheet doesn't account for human exhaustion. Can you mentally survive a 30% drop?
That's a huge question.
Can you come home after watching your portfolio crash, sit across from your kids at the dinner table, and survive the physical, nauseating fear that you might have just ruined their future?
Oh, that's heavy. The spreadsheet doesn't model the feeling of a panic attack at 3 a.m.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't factor in the cold sweat when you realize your life savings just vanished by a third.
It doesn't. And that's why using excessive leverage, borrowing money to amplify your investment returns, is literally like playing Russian roulette.
Because the stakes are just too high.
The odds might be in your favor 95% of the time. You might get rich quickly, but that 5% chance of ruin, it completely zeroes you out.
A double wipeout.
Right. You lose your money, and you lose the opportunity to buy back in when prices are at their lowest, because you have no cash left.
So how does a young adult practically build this margin of safety while still trying to aggressively grow their wealth and escape the 9 to 5?
It requires a specific framework.
Give me a concrete example. If I'm 25, I'm making decent money, I want to escape the grind. What does this look like? Do I just put 50% of my money in cash and 50% in the market?
You use what's called a barbell strategy. It's a dual mindset. On one side of the barbell, you operate like a terrified turtle.
A terrified turtle, I love that.
You stockpile 3 to 6 months of emergency cash in a boring savings account. You aggressively avoid bad debt, like credit cards.
Just totally defensive.
Yes, you put 80 to 90% of your investments into something incredibly steady, like broad market index funds, which just track the whole economy. You are intensely paranoid about survival.
Okay, so that's the terrified turtle side. But where does the growth come from? If I want to escape the 9 to 5, I need growth.
On the exact opposite side of the barbell, you take calculated risks. You take that remaining 10 to 20% of your money and you aim for high growth.
Like what?
You start a side business. You invest in an individual stock you really believe in. You upskill.
Oh, so you split your personality almost.
You hold both of these conflicting mindsets at the exact same time. Extreme optimism for the future on one end, paired with extreme paranoia about the short-term bumps on the other.
You have to survive the short term to succeed in the long term.
Exactly.
Because if you don't have the terrified turtle side, you'll panic when the market drops, you'll grab the wrench, sell everything, and ruin your compounding.
When you look at those two lives, from the beginning of our deep dive, Grace Groner and Richard Fuscone, it perfectly illustrates this. It's essentially a hierarchy of investor needs.
Just like Maslow's hierarchy of needs for psychology.
Yes. At the very bottom, the foundational blocks of wealth aren't intelligence or market analysis. The foundation is endurance, humility, saving money, controlling your ego.
So Richard Fuscone, the Harvard executive, was highly skilled at the very top of that pyramid.
Unbelievably skilled. He understood complex derivatives, which is essentially betting on the future price of an asset using borrowed money. He understood global markets.
But he completely failed the behavioral foundation at the bottom.
Right. He lacked humility. He over-leveraged his life with a massive $66,000 a month mortgage, and he didn't leave a margin of safety.
So when the 2008 financial crisis hit, his entire pyramid collapsed.
He had no terrified turtle protecting him.
And then there's Grace. Grace didn't even know what the top of the pyramid looked like. She wouldn't know a complex derivative from a hole in the ground.
She wouldn't care either.
Right. But she mastered the behavioral foundation so perfectly, living humbly in a one-bedroom house, buying clothes at rummage sales, never interrupting the compounding, that those high-level financial skills were completely unnecessary for her to amass $7 million.
She mastered the psychology, which rendered the technical skills completely irrelevant.
Oh.
And as we wrap up, there's a profound philosophical anchor we can attach to this entire concept of enduring the chaos of the economy.
Oh, I think I know where you're going with this. The Jiddu Krishnamurti story.
Yes, Krishnamurti. He was a renowned philosopher and spiritual speaker who spent decades delivering talks to huge crowds about finding inner peace. And as he got older, he got a bit more candid. During one famous lecture, he paused and asked his audience, "Would you like to know my secret?"
The ultimate secret to peace.
He leaned in and whispered, "You see, I don't mind what happens."
I don't mind what happens. That is just wow.
Applying that to the psychology of money is incredibly powerful. It means abandoning the exhaustive, stressful attempt to constantly predict the next economic disaster or the next market crash or the next hot stock.
Because you just can't predict the world.
No one can. But you can build a stable financial strategy, one with a wide margin of safety driven by invisible wealth and compounding that is designed to endure change.
So if the market goes up, great.
And if the market crashes tomorrow, you don't panic. You have your cash reserves. You don't grab the wrench. You simply endure. You don't mind what happens.
Before we go, think about this. If compounding is the most powerful force in finance, it applies to your habits too.
Oh, completely.
The tiny financial decisions you make today aren't just saving you $20 or costing you $20. They are compounding into the personality of the person you will become in 30 years.
That's a very real way to look at it.
So, to you listening right now, whether you are walking to class, commuting to that job you're desperately trying to escape, or sitting in your room planning your future, I want to leave you with a direct challenge. Look closely at your habits today.
Ask yourself the hard questions.
Are you draining your energy and your paycheck chasing visible richness? Are you trying to impress strangers at stoplights who are playing a completely different, unwinnable game? Or are you making the deliberate, quiet choice to build invisible wealth?
The wealth nobody sees.
Exactly. The kind of wealth that no one else can see, but is secretly compounding in the background, working day and night to eventually buy back your time, your options, and your ultimate freedom.
That's the real goal.
Are your daily habits compounding toward freedom, or are they compounding a cage? Which game are you really playing?